What's going on, Babylonians? It's me, Songs of Rays, and I'm back with some more The Finals guides. Now in today's video we'll be doing our second entry into a brand new series called How to Fix, looking at the worst weapons The Finals currently has in its game, and we'll look how to make them usable. In today's episode we're focusing on the Heavy's MGL32 launcher, looking at what it can do, how well it performs, and most importantly, what holds it back from relevancy. After all that, I'll look to suggest some changes to help make the weapon better, including one more radical of a change that may change its behaviour or its animations. Now I've established what I'm trying to do, let's kick it off, and let's have a look at the stats behind this rotary grenade launcher. The MGL32 is the Heavy's way of putting on the explosive pressure in the arena, bringing AoE damage at the expense of being able to perform in 1v1 gunfights. Now like the medium CL40, this has its upsides, allowing you to punish light classes or teams that stick together to damage multiple players at once, while suffering a little bit in the close range engagement due to self-harm in the form of splash damage. Now the true strength to the MGL32 is maintaining that distance where the grenades are effective, but also make light work of players inside of confined spaces so the splash damage can go to work. On paper, this sounds great, but unfortunately Embark did a number on this weapon to make sure it's awkward as hell to use. So let's start with the grenades themselves. Damage-wise, it's a bit difficult to pinpoint the effective damage of the launcher due to the likelihood of not getting the nades to directly explode on the target, but just know that at its maximum output, the MGL32 will dispose of a light in 2 shots, a medium in 4, and a heavy in 5. Now, this does drop off rapidly the further away from the target the shot does land, including all the way up to an 11-shot kill on a heavy. Now imagine needing about 2 magazines worth of your primary gun to take down a single target. That thought alone is making me queasy. So what, I hear you say, if it isn't the biggest damage dealer, that's not a problem as long as it can still be used utility-wise. We see the sledgehammer get brought in to chew up buildings and walls for breakfast, and people don't consider that a bad weapon, so surely the MGL32 has a niche like that, right? Right? While technically the MGL32 can be brought in and used for destruction, it still pales in comparison to the sledgehammer in this regard, as it takes 8, yes I did say 8, grenades to be able to blow up a hole in a single wall. Who knew an electric guitar being banged against a wall was stronger than a 40 mic round, and sounds like the army has just got it all wrong. But the real reason the MGL32 isn't widely used, and one of its most frustrating features, is how the rounds don't deal damage on a direct impact. Instead, the MGL32 opts for a 2-bounce mechanic, requiring 1 bounce off any surface to arm and the second one to detonate. Now, this can be used to great effect, allowing the user to bounce nades around walls or into windows from relative safety, and this does sound amazing, until you try to pull it off in a match and people catch on you're an easy target if they start breathing down on your neck. Now while the Heavy does have some amazing utility to protect themselves in a close range pinch, once those items have been used, get ready for a long cooldown period before you can go again, or you can just pretty much forfeit your life right there and then. Now in a head-to-head fight on level ground, the best tactic to even try and get a hit off is to aim the nades short and hope they bounce onto the target. Hilariously though, once you try to introduce any incline or verticality to the fight, good luck trying to land your grenades now. Aiming from height will cause the nades to have more bounce, and the target will have more time to be able to move out the way, whereas even Dude Perfect can't hit the bounce needed for targets shooting at you from a roof. So the MGL32 has the potential to be a niche pick, an off-meta contender in certain team comps, but that double bounce and it taking up your primary weapon slot, you know, that slot that's designed to take on opponents and deal damage, is just too steep a price. So how can we fix this? What can we suggest that will make the MGL32 fun to use, but also not make the Heavy class a discount one-man army noob tuber from 2009? Now fortunately I think I have some solutions, with 2 that would be a slight change to how the gun behaves currently, and a 3rd being a more radical change, making it into more of a utility weapon and playstyle, of which I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on. So let's start it off nice and easy, with the first proposed change being the nades being able to direct impact. Now this isn't me saying it should match that of the CL40, being able to explode on contact with the wall or floor all the time. I do still think that there should be some identity between the launchers, but having the MGL32 still bounce on surfaces to detonate keeps it as a utility weapon with the ability to take out enemies with direct hits only. This lessens the penalty for not having the weapon to hand for firefights, but can be still used the way it's intended for clearing rooms around around corners with relative safety. Now, while I do think this would solve the issue with the gun and most players' complaints, they could go in a different direction with the damage on impact and introduce a flat amount for the nade hitting the player and keep the 2-bounce mechanic. Allowing the nades to deal 50 damage on a direct hit, for example, would keep the weapon from being overpowered, but also give the user a skill-based way to deal more damage or protect themselves in a close-range fight. Of course, this number could be moved up and down depending on if it's deemed too strong combined with the explosion as well, but this would put it in line with the Assassin's Dagger's light swing, meaning it can be used in self-defense, but it isn't necessarily great at it. So please, Embark, stop making us RPGing ourselves in the foot for defense. Another option we could look at would be to give the MGL32 an alt fire, as no one scopes in with this weapon. All it does is give you some kind of zoom. Something like an airburst function would allow the user to set the distance for the nade to travel before detonating, and could create a skill-based weapon and improve its utility plays, while still keeping the usual fire when buildings are aplenty. Know there's a target behind a window or a goo pile, but have no walls to be able to bounce that primary fire off, then line up your target with the obstacle, hold alt fire to lock the distance, and then fire away. Doing this will allow the MGL32 to have a way to tackle verticality, of which it currently cannot do, and improve its worth. That all said, I will admit I do prefer the first option to this one as a change for the MGL32, but I can see plays being made with this in mind, and the more options available to the player, the better equipped they'll be for fighting in the arena. So this then just leaves my more radical change, the one that I don't expect to see, but I want to be able to offer another perspective, another suggestion if you will. The MGL was set up to be a utility-based weapon, with limited uses in a head-on fight, so what if we leaned more into this? What if we made the MGL32 a utility launcher, allowing the heavy access to all the special nades in the game, but with a lesser effect and on a cooldown using the alt fire? So how I'm imagining, just bear with me on this one, is that the weapon would work is that your standard fire is explosive only, giving you the typical unlimited ammunition you see in the arena now for all weapons, leaving this on a 2-bounce operation and leaving out the direct impact changes that we mentioned earlier in this video. With alt fire though, we can introduce some new rounds for the launcher to wield, including things like gas, incendiary, goo, smoke, flashbang and glitch. Each tap of the alt fire will cycle through the rounds in that order and in the bottom right of your screen, allowing the heavy to choose what suits the situation, but once fired after selecting, they cannot swap to a new ammo type until all the rounds are fired and that cooldown has passed. This would stop them from being able to use something like gas with one round, incendiary with a second, popping up some goo or some smoke with the third and fourth, and just being able to cycle through every single one of these. It would allow them to be able to choose 6 rounds of one particular item, and then we have to worry about the cooldown from there. This would then make the MGL32 the only gun in the game with a cooldown attached to it, but possess the ability for the heavy to have the largest amount of utility on the field at one time. To keep this alt ammo types balanced, yes, I am looking at you, Gas Grenade, we would need to adjust the damage dealing and the glitch ones to make sure they aren't overshadowing the need to take the respective gadgets in the field. Initial thoughts are having a 50% reduction in their effective radius and duration, so stopping a cash out from being flooded with green vapours, but also making it worthwhile to have the nades as well, should you want a bigger boom or effect. This still doesn't help out the heavy in head-on firefights, but it does provide the team more utility to use, meaning the heavy runs support while their two teammates give the cover fire. Like I said, I understand this is a bit of a radical change, but this could be a fun concept to run with, making support heavies rather than making them the damage dealers in bullet sponge bodies. But these are just some of my thoughts as to how I'd change the MGL32, so I'd love to hear what you think of my changes and any you have in the comment section down below. Can it be wacky or sensible? Either way, I'd love to be able to hear from them, so let me know all of that down below. Massive thank you for making your way to the end of the video. Massive thank you to the Babylonian family as always for their continued support. If you want to see more episodes like this and you want to suggest some weapons, feel free to use the comment section down below. I do read through every single one, and I do have a few others lined up ready for this series. But from me, make sure to keep yourself safe, keep yourselves well, and I'll see you all on the next video.